I look at fighters when they're in their absolute prime. Like, what have you ever seen that was better than this? And with Mike Tyson, I've never seen anybody better.
Joe Rogan may be really onto something about Jake Paul's career in boxing. Joe doesn't think Jake fits into the sport quite well, even with his memorable fights. Joe Rogan is down to expose Jake Paul's true character, and this may be the end of Jake's short career in boxing. Y'all know how boxing can be a little bit more entertaining and at the same time more dangerous than other sports. Well, Jake seems to be putting himself in the danger zone of the sport with the decisions he's been making lately. Remember Jake agreeing to fight Mike Tyson on November 15th? Oh yeah, that's one of the decisions we are talking about. If no one would be good enough to Jake to advise him about that decision, Joe Rogan will do him the favor of coming in and advising him. Joe isn't even trying to badmouth Jake. He just wants him to know his place in the sport. Oh yeah, Jake can throw some good punches, but can he throw a punch half as good as that of Tyson? Unfortunately, the answer on most people's lips is a big no. Most folks believe Jake is biting more than he can chew. Maybe those people don't have the platform to set Jake straight about his decision to fight the legendary Mike Tyson, but Joe Rogan has that platform and he's ready to make good use of it. Joe Rogan is constantly on his podcast, telling folks that he knows Tyson would outshine Jake regardless of how hard he trains for the fight. It's a no-brainer that Tyson has beaten fighters that are far better and more experienced than Jake. Even aside from experience, Jake's performance in some matches has already set a bad precedent for him as an opponent to Mike Tyson. Even Tyson has frequently clowned Jake about the fighters that have beaten him in the ring. Those fighters that knock Jake out are no match for Tyson, and that's what everyone is talking about. Yeah, Jake might be able to pull a fast one on Mike Perry some weekends back, but it's almost impossible for him to do the same thing to Tyson. Word on the street is that Jake intentionally used his pent-up training sessions he had dedicated to fighting Tyson in July to Mike Perry, and there was no way Perry could have won the fight. But don't think Perry is a small fighter. Perry is in fact one of the best fighters in his league. Man is in the bare knuckle fight championship for a reason, although he already got dropped by his disappointed boss. Conor McGregor was so disappointed as the co-owner of the BKFC company that he couldn't withstand one of his fighters getting knocked out by his archenemy, Jake Paul. Conor fired Mike Perry almost immediately after the fight ended. He didn't even wait to file Perry's retrenchment on paper. He was on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, to announce to the world that Mike Perry had been fired from the BKFC. Conor wrote on X, "Hey Mike, you're released, and you can go and compete in your smelly dirty boxing championship thing. The smell of it. Good luck. You're fired. Isparak Knuckle FC." It was totally unexpected, but it seems Conor took out his anger on Perry, who caused it by losing to Jake Paul. But that wasn't all. He also had something to say to Jake, who messed up his fighter without batting an eyelid. Conor also had more to say to Jake as he addressed Jake in a lengthy statement on X. Conor dumped his fighting skills as he put his writing skills into practice, telling Jake that he was not fit to be called a fighter. To get a better understanding of Conor's frustration at Perry losing to Jake, you should know what his tweet was like. Conor told Jake, "Jake Paul is the biggest piss bag I have ever seen in my life. 40-pound weight difference juiced out of his head and still shitting himself in there." Conor added, "Naxa, you should take him to Vegas." "Oh, that's right, you could never. The athletic commission testing, real fighting. Asses, you could never." And then calling out 60-year-old Mike Tyson, fresh off an in-flight medical emergency. I swear to God, a fat can of piss. Most valuable piss bag. Okay, everyone could see how frustrated he was, but he picked the wrong person to pick a fight with online. The internet is Jake's forte, and no one can easily forget that Jake transitioned from being a YouTuber to being a fighter. Interestingly, Jake wasn't ready to trade words with Conor on the internet. Instead of going on and on about it on social media, Jake went straight for Conor's face in a fight. In simpler words, Jake challenged Conor to a fight, and Jake claims he's not up for trading baseless words on the internet. Jake thinks Conor should stop writing epistles and throwing insults around. He should live up to his status in the sport and fight with him.
As soon as your fight ended, Conor McGregor said Mike Perry was fired from the BKFC.
Oh my!
Did he really?
Yeah. And he took shots at you. He called you some derogative term. Any message for Conor McGregor?
Hey, that's up that you fired your BKFC champion, but
face of BKFC.
I told you that was gonna happen. You know, I told you exactly what was gonna happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Conor, like after I up Mike Perry, then you're next. So Conor's on Twitter all the time. He's on his yacht all the time, but guess where he's not? In the ring fighting me. So he can talk all the he wants, but the notorious MMA is scared of Jake Joseph Paul from Disney Channel, and I put that on my mama.
However, Conor McGregor is yet to respond to Jake's challenge, but y'all may have to get ready to see the Conor versus Paul fight headlines anytime soon. Okay, going back to Joe Rogan's feelings about Jake Paul, Joe would pay $1 million to remind folks that Jake wouldn't be able to beat Tyson. Joe believes that even if Tyson fights Jake while being blindfolded, he will knock Jake to the ground. So let's weigh the pros and cons of this fight. The first and most notable factor going through everyone's minds is the age difference. Let's get this straight. Tyson might be 58 years old while Jake is not even 30 yet. But who is to say their ages will matter in the ring? Jake thinks he's at a better advantage because he's younger, and Tyson is older. Jake thinks he will be fast enough to avoid getting punched by Tyson. Okay, Jake, let's say you're fast enough. Can Jake throw punches fit enough to take Tyson down? Can Jake truly knock out the former heavyweight champion? These are the questions people need answers to, but we will never know till we see both of them in the ring fight. However, there's the infamous talk about Jake Paul always chasing matches with retired fighters, MMA stars, and people just not in his status quo in the world of boxing. Remember Jake also challenging Alex Pereira to a fight?
I want you, Alex Pereira. I just beat a BKFC champion. I beat multiple UFC champions, and he said he wants to box. So Alex Pereira, after Mike Tyson, let's make it happen.
Oh yeah, that's it. Jake is always trying to fixate on fighters who are not in his league and waiting for them to take his bait, just like Tyson did. Tyson has been in retirement for a long while, so it was quite shocking when Tyson and his team accepted the offer. It wasn't only shocking because Tyson decided to step into the ring again. The most shocking part is who his opponent is for the match. Jake only debuted in boxing in 2018. Tyson has been throwing powerful punches since the 80s, and for those that don't know, experience matters a lot in boxing. Experience helps fighters to know when to make their move or block their opponents. It comes with having the mental ability to know an opponent's move. And we can all agree Jake Paul doesn't have enough experience compared to Tyson. Oh, to top it all off, Tyson isn't only relying on his experience to beat Jake. Tyson is going all the way to train and diet for the match. Have you seen Tyson's body recently? That man doesn't look like he's approaching 60. Tyson is looking like a fighter ready to take on professional boxers. Fighters far better than Jake. You can see how fit a 58-year-old man is. Yeah, that's another reason for Jake to know he's in for a long ride. Like Tyson's body isn't enough to scare Jake, there's also his extreme diet. Tyson only goes on his raw meat diet when he's willing and ready to knock out his opponent completely. Folks are saying Tyson doesn't even need all of these to beat Jake, but with him going to this far length, then there's no chance for Jake. It seems like folks feel it's a lost battle for Jake already, even though they haven't stepped into the ring. Joe Rogan also feels this way. Joe knows Jake isn't that bad of a fighter. He even tried praising him one time on his podcast.
Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul if he wasn't this YouTube guy. He was just a boxer. And you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. Knock him out with one punch like that. You're like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Well, still on the same page, because Jake is doing fine in the boxing community doesn't mean he will knock Tyson out. Most people feel the fighter to do that isn't going to be Jake. Recently, Evander Holyfield, a former fighter, was interviewed and asked about his opinion on the Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. Evander knows for sure Jake could be going home with some serious injuries because he shared the ring with Tyson a few times back in their generation. If Evander knows for sure the match may most likely not be in favor of Jake because of his choice of opponent.
How do you see that fight stylistically? How do you see like Mike at this age? By the time he fights Jake, I think he'll be 58 if I'm correct. Jake's like 26. How do you think that fight is going to turn out?
Well, you know, I'll tell you what can happen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's with the confidence the other guy. I don't know how much confidence that Jake Paul have in all this. But, you know, he's going to be a lot quicker. And if he stay close to Mike, then his chance of winning gonna be great.
Evander continued with his opinions after he was asked who he thinks will win the fight. Evander isn't trying to be partial, so he believes Jake can shock everyone and be the guy he's been claiming he is.
Do you see Mike winning or do you see Jake winning?
I don't know. It's all depending on how Jake fight. You know, I tell you what, if It's because somebody gonna tell him it's too crazy to be trying to get close to the guy. He gonna stay like that. Mike like he get in and he curve up like this and snap out and get you.
Yeah.
He'll jump
MC
up and
roll.
get you. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I like this, and I'm like, but the point of the matter is, do Jake Paul take a good shot? I never seen him get hit by nobody.
Or a guy that the power of Mike even up, because power's the last thing to go.
Yeah, so that's it.
Another veteran in the sport who was questioned about the most anticipated fight in boxing was Lennox Lewis. Lennox is up for a good fight from both sides. Whether it will be Tyson putting on a show or it will be Jake, he's interested in seeing how the fight will go.
You looking forward to the Tyson fight with Jake Paul?
Absolutely. It's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you wish it was a sanctioned fight and not an exhibition like it's going to be?
No, because I would feel really bad for Jake Paul. I don't want him to get hurt.
Lennox, who is Tyson's age mate, has retired from the sport. He's into coaching and just watching the sport for fun nowadays. And this is one of the reasons why everyone is surprised Tyson is still willing to throw punches.
Tyson, he's fighting Jake Paul. You know this man well. What are your expectations for that big fight?
Mike Tyson is two-dimensional. He's going to come at you, trying to knock you out. You got to try and stay away from him. Stay away from his power. I seen him working out the other day, and he throws some good combinations. Make sure that he's not in the way of those punches. Tyson's a real fighter.
He's 57 years young. He still got it. He still got it in his eye.
Oh, yeah. Tyson can throw a punch. He can take a punch. He's doing something that he's used to.
There are still some upcoming fighters that want Jake to get beaten by Tyson because he's so full of himself.
I want Mike to knock Jake Paul out. I feel like that's kind of disrespectful of Jake, though. He said he want to be a real boxer, but he's challenging these retired fighters, or this is like the first real boxer he really fought. Tommy Fury don't really count. And he retired, 30 years ago? So, I mean...
Sounds to me like Carmel disrespecting Mike Tyson, not Jake.
No, I'm saying...
He was calling out Ngannou before, now he sounds like he's calling out Mike Tyson.
This game. Mike passed his time. Everybody know if they fought when Mike was, really him, come on, Jake would die. So I feel like Tyson could maybe pull it out using his skills. I feel like it had to be early though, like first or second round. Tyson gonna win. So yeah.
Well, who you got then?
I got Tyson.
Okay, it's true Jake loves to talk big about himself, but that doesn't seem like a crime in any holy book or even in the Constitution. Anyway, November is fast approaching, and the entire boxing community can't wait to witness the most anticipated fight. Jake might turn out to be the one getting his hand pulled up by the referee, and people's predictions about Tyson teaching Jake a lesson might just be what we will be witnessing. Regardless of how it goes, both fighters will have to return to their normal lives. For Tyson, he will just go back into retirement, whether he loses or wins the fight. But for Jake, he may just have to say goodbye to his career if he loses, but winning will be a really big deal for him. So do you think Joe Rogan's prediction that Mike Tyson would put Jake Paul in his place in November will come to pass? Or do you think Jake might really shock boxing fans by knocking out Tyson? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel or turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on boxing news updates.